Okay, let's get ready for the session, inshallah. You can bring your coffee with you. The next session, we have a keynote talk on sustainable energy. And we have two chairpersons, Dr. Daisy and Professor Jalal Ahmed. Dr. Daisy and Professor Jalal Ahmed, are you both here?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. So I would prefer Dr. Daisy to take over. You can introduce Professor Enam.
Yes.
In 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes, don't take long, so that he's allowed to give a talk, inshallah.
Sorry to interrupt. I guess Dr. Jalal is the first person to chair the session.
Okay. Would Professor Jalal like to introduce Professor Enam, or do you want me to introduce him?
Let me just check if Dr. Jalal is actually present. Dr. Jalal is not here.
Okay. Would you like to introduce Professor Enam, and then we open the session?
Okay. So I will take for this part.
Yeah, Dr. Daisy, you can take over. Yeah, you can take over for Dr. Jalal.
Yes, inshallah.
But
thank you
let
very much.
First.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Miss Habibah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I think all of you are more fresh now because you have coffee or tea as a coffee break. And, you know, I'm in Jakarta, so now here is a midnight, almost midnight time. So same with you, I take my coffee because I don't want to miss my chance, because the chair session for our president of ICNSEA. Okay, so let me start to read his biography or short CV. But we know that we will entering the session. This is very interesting session about sustainability energy. And I think the speaker is very familiar for all of us and also very famous. Yeah. Let me read his biography or short CV. Professor Enamul Hussain is the CEO and president at ICNSEE. Is also chair professor in sustainability energy at the engineering and also professor at the American University in Cairo, Egypt, and more 28 years of professional career. Professor has a diversified and very rich record of teaching, research, business development, and technical achievements. And prior to his current position, he was holding different academic and administration positions at several universities abroad. Prof. Hussain also worked in the oil industry. It's about 10 years at different management levels with the managing director, and also president of NS Research and Development Canada. Moreover, he has young professor positions at many universities in the world and work at different universities. Prof. Hussain was the first Catholic chair professor at Memorial University in Canada and earned a BSc in mechanical engineering from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology and University Alberta and BUET in 2001. Dr. Hussain was awarded PhD in petroleum engineering in 2008 and MBA degree in 2009, both at Dalhousie University, Canada. Prof. Hussain's main contribution to the industry, because he's also the practitioner, and author 10 books of different areas in petroleum engineering, with Elsevier, Wells, Wiley, and Secretary Publishing, USA. And he also co-authored over more than 200 research articles. In addition, Prof. Hussain has 11 US patents, some of which are in the process of commercialization state. I think I have made it shorter, Prof. Enamul. So sorry about that because your CV is too long. If I read all, I think the moderator will be angry, and I have to be warned by him. Yeah. So I think now we will give you the time around 15 minutes. Yeah, to give speak about the sustainable energy, and the title is Challenges in Sustainable Energy and Environment, Prospect of Renewable Energy. So, Prof. Enamol, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Daisy, for your introduction, and welcome to this session. My sincere thanks to all of you to be here today. Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. My talk as a keynote speech should be 25 minutes. I don't know why it is 15 minutes. So if it is okay, I need to cut down many of the things. So,
sorry, Prof. Maybe I have wrong mention about that. 25 for you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I was scared. Anyhow,
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Zubair, sorry for that. 25
No,
minutes,
we'll
right?
give him 20
Okay.
minutes, inshallah. Professor Enam,
okay, no problem. So the agenda of today's talk, I would be trying to highlight precisely what is the background of zero waste management and why it is so important when it comes to the global perspectives, and what are the challenges that underlying with this concept, and how we can solve the problem that are facing by this planet, and some conclusion. So let me go back to the civilization and the correlation between the energy need. It is directly proportional or synonymous with because every civilization needs energy in any form, and that is the basis. However, we need to understand one step ahead, which is sustainable practices requires the physics of nature. Because in my special guest speech, I try to highlight nature is the educator. Nature is the source of knowledge. So if this is the case, we need to really study about the nature, how nature works, not the physics of artificial, which we are experiencing these days. And these are real challenges. When we go to study the physics of nature, that ended up with challenges. And emulating the nature is the way to achieve long-term sustainability. Those are the key that I am very happy. My organization is doing wonderful job with maximizing profit. But tomorrow morning I wake up, I saw it became bankrupt. So that is the short-term profit. But if this is the case, there would be a disaster ahead of us waiting. So instead of having short-term strategic goals, achievement, we need to think for long-term goals and strategic planning and outcome. Another thing is, if these are correct, then we can implement zero waste management and technology development, because nature do not produce any waste. This is the baseline. Now let us see this picture. 100% perfect and 100% balanced. How nature is getting oxygen from the living entities, and how our trees are absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen for the living entities. So there is a fine-tuned correlation in different entities of this planet. If there is a violation, there is an intervention by the living entities. It can be human, it can be any living entities. Then there is a disturbance in nature, and then chaos starts. And that's how these days we are getting all these challenges. In every era, in every civilization, we can make the two extreme. One, we can say left-wing extremist, another one would be the right-wing extremist. But as a civilized human being, everywhere, in every civilization, there were people who were in the middle. And that's what they call golden standard. And in this perspective, we need to be in that region, not the two extreme. Like Ms. Ala asked the question, renewable energy. We should consider all this within the golden standard. Of course, nothing is perfect. We cannot make everything 100% perfect like nature. No way. But we have to minimize the gap. And that's what we can do. So these are the standard we need to understand. And if I go back even in the beginning of the human being, the nature was all right. The civilization was good. Everything was fine. All on a sudden, started from Newton's era, so-called modern science era. Once we started the plastic as a scientific achievement, as a technological development, the disaster started in this planet. Because every one of us know that plastic, how difficult it is to degrade. Millions of years is needed to be degraded. As a result, our river system, our water flow, our soil system, you name it, all are becoming unpleasant, threat for health, threat for planet. And this is the real catch. So somehow we need to go back before the plastic era. This is another theme we need to understand. Then, what are the fundamentals of zero waste management? For this zero waste management, in my special guest speech, I tried to highlight we need to understand and convince ourselves that nature is perfect. This is the first assumption we need to reveal. And indeed, for a scientific research, this is the best assumption ever we can consider. Because as a scientist, we know that every theory has some basis of assumptions. So nature is perfect is a good assumption. Then the sustainability should follow the natural pathway. How, for example, honey is being produced. How honey is being produced? Is it comparable with producing the sugar? So those type of things we need to understand. And we need to also understand and convince ourselves that nature produces zero waste. Nothing left over. If this is the case, then we can do something to green the planet. And this is the thing that, for example, profit maximization with time, honey was the natural drinks. This most beneficiary and beneficial drinks or sweet, slowly becoming very toxic, like sugar. Sugar is the source of cancer, food for cancer cell, because it is processed. On the other hand, honey was natural. Nothing was added there. And then saccharin and aspartate. So all these are deviation from the natural product. And that's how it became harmful for our body. On the other hand, if we keep the honey and work on it based on this, if we continue, this is the first quarter trend, is the way to move forward towards the sustainable development. The other trend, third quarter trend, is the way towards the disaster. Now, if we move forward, we have to have three conditions towards the sustainability. Number one, natural mass and energy balance. Number two, consideration of global efficiency, not just the local efficiency. Whatever technology we develop, we need to consider the entire system, not the part of the system, which is very important again. Then phenomenal intention. Our intention should be nature-based, because nature is the source of knowledge. So those are the consideration we have to understand and follow. Now, what are the pillars of sustainability? As I mentioned in my morning session speech, there are three fundamental pillars. One is the system should be economic, the system should be socially appealing, the system should not threat the environment, because if environment is becoming threatened, we are in the risk. So these three are primary requirement for any technology development, any technology which will lead the waste. So our intention is to minimize the waste generation, because nature does not produce any waste. Finally, according to our understanding and research, we found that technological development is one of the real challenges. Because if the technology is not sustainable, if the technology is not environmental friendly, if the technology is not economically attractive to the user, nothing would be good for the environment. So this is the fourth parameter that we need to understand to have the zero waste management. Now, this is the final fundamentals towards the zero waste. Now, if we follow the first quarter trend, the green one, it will give us the zero waste path for sustainability. If we follow the third quarter trend, it will be following the unsustainable activity, or it will be a harmful activity in the context of sustainability. And for example, here I am putting the Nobel laureate Robert Karl, who is telling this era is a technological disaster. Very important. We are in the technological disaster era, actually, because in every of our action, we are going to threaten the environment. We are going to threaten the society. We are going to threaten our health. And the Pope is telling terrorism against the entire humanity. So the technology that we are ending up as I mentioned in the beginning, the plastic, innovation of plastic. Imagine how negative impact it is bringing for the environment. Just one example. So, and you can bring tons of example along the line. If this is the case, no way that this planet would be saved towards the sustainable environment. Now, what is the immediate benefit we can see? I am just bringing one of the example here. Let's say in petroleum engineering, we have enhanced oil recovery, where we used many techniques. If we generate zero waste by utilizing a new technique to enhance the petroleum product, then immediate profitability you can see. There is a jump. And that's what the long-term benefit is, if we can try to implement zero waste management. Now, what are the challenges that we are facing these days when it comes to the implementation of the zero waste management and technology? The majority of the cases, our research shows that the true sustainability is really absent. The researcher, the literature shows that when they evaluate the economic development, economic analysis, after the technological analysis of the system, they completely ignored the global perspective of the system, of the technology, of the analysis. And what is global efficiency and local efficiency, I am coming in next few slides. Now, so what are the shortcomings and how we can have the remedy? The zero waste technology. If we can introduce the zero waste technology, then that will give us some sorts of understanding and safety towards the saving of this planet. And some of the real challenges that the world is facing these days are, for example, global warming and climate changes. That's what I am going to tell you, that what does it mean in our research that global efficiency and the local efficiency, and where we are stuck really. For example, the left side picture shows that we have different localized process cycle. Let's say conventional drilling fluid is a localized cycle, one compartment of the room, of the apartment. Now let's say circulation through the mud system. This is another compartment of the apartment, and so on. So if we consider, okay, to get the efficiency of this system, I will consider only, let's say, addition of chemical additives in the system. We are forgetting that addition of chemical additives is like a compartment of the apartment. It's not the entire apartment. And this is the gap, real gap, where we need to do the things in a global perspective. So we are telling this is a local cycle efficiency. The entire process is starting from drilling fluid composed of clay and others, all the way to drilling waste disposal. So this is the global efficiency. All this single cycle need to be analyzed and add up to get the entire system efficiency. Then you will be surprised to see that nuclear power plant, for example, are the most efficient process to give the power, to generate the power. But when you consider the environmental perspective, environmental disaster that is going to be happen by the nuclear power plant, I am just picking up one example. You will see the real picture of the environmental threat along with the calculation of the global. And we also know that India experienced a disaster from the nuclear power plant, and Russia experienced a nuclear disaster power plant from the power plant. So we have already examples of those disasters. For example, in petroleum, there are blowouts that destroys the entire environment. Unfortunately, the oil companies do not consider the damage that they are doing, which is happening in reality. They do not consider, they do not calculate the impact of the blowout of the environment. If they add this cost, then the scenario would be ups and down. And that's what we are trying to address. Now, when it comes to the long-term challenges, those need to be really addressed. What are those? That this scientific analysis only consider local efficiency, as I tried to highlight in the previous slide. It should not be the case. We need to consider the global efficiency where environmental impact is being considered. So, if you consider the environmental disaster, what might happen because of this new technology development, when you go and apply this technology, what would be the consequence in the environment? What would be the consequence in the human health? What would be the consequence for the society, mental health of the living entities? What would be the consequence with the species that are living for millions of years in the dense forest, in the desert? We are not really aware of those. So we need to consider this, and consideration of those are real challenge. Then another challenge is the technology that I am going to select should be based on technical feasibility, cost effectiveness, regulatory requirement, and environmental impact. Because a technology can be feasible for, let's say, developed country. A technology may not be necessarily feasible and equally applicable to the developing countries. So, consideration of the regulatory requirement by the government is also a requirement towards the technology development. If the technology impact the environment, then it will have a negative impact, negative mark on that technology. If, for example, a medicine that is very good for the remedy of the disease, to remove the disease or to get rid of the disease, if this medicine is becoming another threat which will bring another health hazard for the person, then of course this medicine is not good for the person. So that's what we are trying to do here. The technology must be following these four factors, and incorporation of these factors are not really easy. Then, if this is the case, the new technology must be evaluated by the sustainability criteria. The criteria that you set must be followed, meet the requirement. And again, it is under the 4 points like environment, economic, regulatory, and sustainable technology. Finally, if this is the case, then we can make a comprehensive solution of the technology towards the zero waste management. So what are the solution? We can introduce a zero waste engineering management in all aspects of energy source for the long term, not for the short term benefit. If in any technology, in any attempt, in any discipline, if we look for the short term benefit, definitely it will not be a sustainable zero waste technology management. And this is the key towards the solution. Another one is the energy model that we will be developing should have a sustainable scenario in all aspects, not like one scenario which is parallel to global efficiency. I did some experiment, it is good for that perspective. But if I change the condition of the experiment, it gives some different value, some different perspective. Then definitely we need to think twice that what is going on. So what we are trying to tell, in every situation, the technology that we develop, it should be impartial, should have same result. And this is the guideline, that always we need to see and go back to the nature. If there is an issue, there is a problem during the technology development. If this we can do, at least we are not making any harm to the environment. And that is the, again, a key for zero waste management. Now, if we consolidate what we discussed so far, this is the summary. We need to have a green supply chain framework and model, which will make sure, number one, zero emission from air, soil, water, and so on. Zero waste resources, energy, material, and from human. Zero waste in activities. Let's say administration and production and so on. What is this zero waste activities? Let's say my boss is so toxic. Whatever I do, in his or her eyes, all these are wrong. You see how it is impacting in everywhere in our daily life, all the way to environment, to planet. So this should not be. And then zero use of toxins. The toxic product, we call it additives. In the name of additives, during the process plant, processing a product, we are adding the chemicals, toxic chemicals, and the addition of these toxic chemicals are bringing the end product as more toxic. And this should not be the case. Then zero waste in product life cycle. This is another most important part. So what we are trying to propose, from the beginning of the development all the way to end users, there should have a clean understanding, clear framework, where no one related to this process are being threatened.
Prof, and I'm so sorry to remind you about the time.
Okay, how many minutes I have?
Actually, your time is up.
Oh, sorry. So
I'm afraid
finally,
because this is the speaker is president of ICNSEE, so how I can stop my president?
So finally, the conclusion is we are really looking for profit maximization. This should be cut off Of course, profit maximization should be there in the context of long-term benefit, not in the context of short-term benefit. Then we need to really adopt sustainable approach that can lead towards the zero waste generation. Number 3, series of zero waste technology. Indeed, it is needed. Otherwise, we are lacking behind and we are threaten our future generation. And by minimizing the artificial chemicals, we can achieve novel natural additives that can eradicate lots of challenges that the entire mankind is facing today. Thank you very much, and my apology that I took maybe some more time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. No problem, Prof. Enam. So, ladies and gentlemen, the participants of this conference, I think this is very interesting topic, yeah, that Prof. Enam has provided us sharing, yeah, about the sustainability energy, that we know this is very important because to reach the sustainability is not easy. There are many challenges from there. But the most interesting points is because we can combine from all aspects or sectors, yeah, that could be contribute, yeah, to how to achieve the zero waste, yeah, and also we know 3 pillars, not 3 pillars, 4 pillars, yeah, that will influence this, yeah, not only social, economic, yeah, but technology, yeah. Nowadays, technology is very famous and very influences. Thank you very much, Prof. Enam. And ladies and gentlemen, you have 5 minutes for the Q&A session. If you have any question.
No questions now. I think we put it in the lunchtime. He's taken his time.
Oh,
so I'm sorry. I have to come back now because we need to go to the next session. Inshallah.
Oh, okay,
We've already
Prof.
gone 5 minutes over the time.
Oh, okay. So sorry, Prof. Enam.
Thank you very much,
Professor
and my apology for taking more time.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Enamul and Prof. Zubair. I will giving back to you. Thank you for all, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hi, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.